Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Tony here. Thanks for stopping by. We're in Studio E. We have the Elvis light lit, as you can see, and Elvis is still trying out Halloween masks for Halloween. Halloween's just around the corner. Hope everyone's got their costume set up. I hope all the kids stay safe at night, walking the streets and doing their Halloween trick-or-treat thing. But this little segment is something I've been thinking about doing for a while because I've been listening to a lot of my older records. And I always go to certain records in my collection, certain artists, certain records of that particular artist. Now, this little video is going to be about 4 quintessential American artists, just the cream of the crop. 2 of them are still going strong. I think one just retired. We'll talk about that. But they're still going strong. Decades, maybe 6 decades of recording for 2 of these guys. 2 are deceased, but I'm going to talk about them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull 4 of their essential albums. If you don't have any records of these 4 particular artists, these are 4 records that I think you should pick up, because as far as I'm concerned, these are my go-to records for these artists. And if you don't have any records from these artists, or if you're looking for a record to start that journey into, back in time, this time machine thing we call vinyl, go back in time and really hear quality music, quality songs, quality arrangements, quality recording. So, and as they say, without further ado, right, we're going now to Shakespeare. I'm going to talk about these 4 records. The first one up is Love Is the Thing, 1957, first collaboration with Gordon Jenkins. They did 3 other records besides this one. This was the first one. Now, this is 1957, actually went gold, and recently not recently, but in 92, it actually went platinum. It's been reissued many times, and it's been reissued with bonus tracks. This has 12 tracks on it. Stardust, It's All in the Game, When I Fall in Love, which is all standards. Ain't Misbehaving, When Sunny Gets Blue, Love Is the Thing, At Last, The Great At Last, Stay As Sweet As You Are, I Thought About Marie, and Where Can I Go Without You. Now, this record went number 1 on Billboard, number 1 on Billboard in England as well, in the UK. It's just an unbelievable record. Recorded December 19th, December 28th, 1956. And the original album has 12 tracks. Some albums are abridged, and some of the newer releases have a few bonus tracks like Love Letters, which is a great song if you don't know it. I don't know if it's a blues song, but I remember hearing Tom Jones do it as a blues. You have When I Fall in Love, Stardust, Hoagie Carmichael, Where Can I Go Without You? Love Letters was actually Heyman and Young, but that is not on this particular record. Ain't Misbehaving, but this record is lush. Gordon Jenkins follows the smooth vocals of Nat Cole. This is an essential Nat Cole record, and that's why it's been reissued. I believe the last reissue may have been a 45 from Chad Analog Productions, Acoustic Sounds. I didn't get that because I have a really mint copy of this in stereo. This is also in mono. I do not have a mono of this, but in most cases, these records, I kind of prefer the stereo if they're done correctly. If it's not a fold over, that type of thing. Here's the actual vinyl, so you could see that this rainbow capital is just near mint, and I've been playing these. This still has a shrink on it. Here's an original inner, but I believe this is a later inner. Some of the other inners from Capitol just have the 2 microphones. So this is kind of 64-ish. 64, it's Beatles, so it's got to be post 64. And this record came out in 57. So this may be a reissue in stereo, but just sounds tremendous. Next up, what we're going to talk about is another artist who is just, if you have one album of this artist, this is the one to buy. In my opinion, this is the one to seek out. I have this in mono and stereo, and I prefer the stereo, but the mono has a great punch to it, and that's this one, Dean Martin, Dream with Dean. I talked about this record before. Here's the inner. This still has a sticker on it, stereo, because back in the day, stereo was becoming the thing, and they wanted to tell potential customers that, you know, you're picking up a stereo, it's going to pay $2 more instead of $4.99. Maybe it's $5.99 or instead of $3.99. But this record was from 1964, so this is right around the time of the Beatles invasion. But Everybody Loves Somebody was a hit that knocked off some Beatle number ones. But this record, if I get the chills thinking about this, it's all acoustic. Dean Martin is sitting center stage on his stool singing these great tunes. Everybody Loves Somebody, which was the big hit. I'm Confessing, I Don't Know Why, Baby Won't You Please Come Home, Smile, Fools Rush In, Hands Across the Table, If You Were the Only Girl, My Melancholy Baby, Give Me a Little Kiss, I'll Buy That Dream. I'll Buy That Dream is just tremendous. You may not know that song, so check it out on YouTube. He uses a word like gyrocopter, which is the same gyrocopter thing that James Bond used in You Only Live Twice, that little Nelly, that little helicopter. So there's that record. And great cover art, Dean. Great cover art here. Here you have one of the original Itters, and I believe this is a tricolor, the desirable tricolor Reprise records. And like I said, this is stereo. Dream with Dean. This was also reissued, I believe, on a 45 by Acoustic Sounds again. Chad knows how to pick them. The tapes on this are tremendous. It's all tube. It's just amazing. Now, this is the first of two albums released in '64. Dream with Dean peaked at number 15 on Billboard's 200. It features Everybody Loves Somebody with a quartet accompaniment. He was later to re-record the song. That was the hit single. Now, this record is was just a big money maker. It sold a lot. I'm sure at this point it's platinum. It's just you have Rodgers and Hart, you have Johnny Mercer tunes, and he just does them to perfection. You know, Dean was a kind of like a loose artist, probably a lot more looser than Nat Cole. He would come in, do his songs, and get out, go play golf or whatever. But this record, it's like I said, if you're going to buy one record of Dean Martin, this is the one you want to buy. But Ken Lay is piano player, Barney Kessel on guitar, Red Mitchell double bass, and Irv Kotler on drums. Now, that was just a band. It's just an acoustic. It's unplugged. And he just swings. Even when the song is a ballad, it just swings. So one of my favorite Dean Martin records of all time. And like I said, a quintessential artist and a essential record. Here's another inner here is the mono. Same work, same cover art. And next up we have Open Fire, Two Guitars by Johnny Mathis, who I believe just retired this year. So Johnny's been performing for 60, 70 years. It's just a phenomenal. But this record, I don't really like a lot of Johnny Mathis. I like his Christmas stuff. I have a lot of Johnny Mathis, but this is the one I always play. This is just, again, it's unplugged. Johnny Mathis is center stage. And when I met Chad once at an audiophile show in New York City a few years ago, I mentioned to him that if you're gonna, he had just released Dream with Dean, and I mentioned this to him. This is the next one you should do, but he didn't know me. It probably fell on deaf ears. But if you're listening, this is a great one. I can see this is a 6i Columbia. This, I believe, is this may be the mono. This is the mono, a 6i. And again, just acoustic, a small band, obviously two guitars, upright bass. Let me see who else is on here. Produced by Mitch Miller, the famous Mitch Miller. It's just a gentle record, but it's the record that, when Johnny Carson was asking Johnny Carson on his show, what records, do you play when you're trying to, hook up with a girl in your apartment or whatever, vice versa? And because we play your records, Johnny Carson said, we play Dean Martin, we play Frank Sinatra, and sarcastically Sinatra said Jerry Fail. Obviously that's Jerry Vale, but he does here on Johnny does In the Still of the Night, Tenderly, Open Fire, I Concentrate on You, In the Still of the Night, You'll Never Know, Embraceable You, My Funny Valentine, When I Fall in Love Again, When I Fall in Love, Bye Bye Blackbird. So this is just an amazing record. Check it out on YouTube. These are available. I picked most of mine up in thrift shops. I believe all of them, maybe a yard sale, but thrift shops. You don't see them too often anymore because it's been known that it's considered an audiophile quality record. Here is another issue that I have. Here's another Columbia Inner, and this is another. It's a different cover than the other cover. It has different cover here, but it's still a 6i. And here is the stereo version. Those were mono. Here's the stereo on top, stereo fidelity. This is CS8056, Columbia Records. It has a price tag on it of $2.99 back in the day. This record was released on January 5th, 1959. So you had the Nat Cole was 57. This is 59. The Dean Martin was 64. So it's right before the British invasion. These guys were top of the charts. Here you can see a 2i Columbia with the person I had it before me, kept it in really good condition, and I cleaned it on my VPI. And I listened to all these records the last couple of days in anticipation of doing this. And what really struck me as just an essential record was definitely all of them were definitely essential. But the Nat Cole he's so good. It's just amazing. He was just a jazz piano player, a jazz vocalist, but then he became a superstar. And that tower in Capitol Records used to say it's the tower that Sinatra built, but it's really the tower that Nat Cole built, because Nat Cole sold a lot of records for Columbia. He crossed all genres, all peoples. It was just we don't see people like that. We don't see artists like that anymore. Artists may sell more records because there's a lot more people buying records. May not be selling them, but streaming them. But Nat Cole sold millions and millions of records. Like I said, that first record I showed actually went platinum. And here is the Inner, another Inner from Columbia Records. Now the last one is one of my favorite guys of all time, and why he isn't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I should just send this record to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame people, and they'll say, yeah, you're right. He belongs in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But before I go into who it is, or you know who I mean, because I talked about this before, I just want to thank everyone for stopping by, listening to my spiel, listening to my passion for these records. And these are just my opinions. You may say, well, I like, this other Frank Sinatra record, or this other Dean Martin record, and this other quintessential artist. But it's my opinion. This is what I've been listening to for the last 50 years. So obviously I want to share that, and I want to thank everyone for subbing. And if you haven't subbed, please consider it, because of maybe 30% of the people who watch my channel actually subscribe. A lot of people watch it and they don't subscribe, they just go on. So if you could take that second and subscribe and like, it really helps out the channel. YouTube likes it. They'll play more of my videos. They'll show more of my videos. Now this guy, this is a 1969 record. It was released in 69, it's recorded in the summer of 69. I've been listening to this record my whole life. I think it's one of the first records I ever bought, and that's this record. This is just amazing. This is still in shrink. I actually have Tom Jones signed one of these for me. Now, what's funny about this record, another Bond connection, Terry O'Neill actually did the photographs for this. Now, if you don't know Terry O'Neill was kind of a photographer of the stars. he photographed the famous Faye Dunaway photos when she was by a pool the day after she won her Oscar at the Oscar ceremony. He's done Sean Connery. He's done Bond movies, photography. We met him on a trip to England with Twine Tour. So it's a nice Bond connection here, Terry O'Neill. But look at that great cover. And this is a great cover, filmed, photographed at the Flamingo Hotel. This was recorded at the Flamingo Hotel in summer of '69, later released in '69. Actually was Tom Jones's top selling, and I think maybe chart wise top album in the U.S. So this is a very, very important record for Tom Jones. But it is so well done. From the first track, it scans his career up to this point. You have Turn On Your Love Light, Bright Lights and You Girl, I Can't Stop Loving You, Hard to Handle, which is the first time I heard since Otis Redding, the Otis Redding song that the Black Crowes later did. And I like this one better. Delilah, Danny Boy, one of his voice is so strong with Danny Boy. Check it out on YouTube. Check out this record on YouTube. I'll Never Fall in Love Again. Out of all the records I just showed, the 3 other records, this is the one I go to all the time. And I have everything Tom Jones probably did officially, as far as I know. I'll Never Fall in Love Again, which is funny. That was not recorded during this session. That was actually his single at the time. What they did was they actually brought it back, re-edited it, and dubbed in applause. You can't tell by listening to this I'll Never Fall in Love Again. You're going to think it was recorded with the rest of this because it's just a perfect mix of what was heard before. Then you have Help Yourself. He did 2 Beatles songs, Yesterday and Hey Jude. Hey Jude, if the Hall of Fame listened to Hey Jude, you'd say, yeah, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And when I tell you who's on this record, you're going to say, yeah, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Love Me Tonight. It's Not Unusual, his first hit, and he does a great twist and shout to end the set. Now, he has other live albums. He has Talk of the Town. He has another live at the Caesars Palace in a double record. But this record for me is his quintessential, essential live record. And if you don't have any Tom Jones, pick this record up because you'll become a Tom Jones fan. Now, look at the original inner sleeve from London Durham, right? Look at that inner sleeve. It's all rock. This is the original inner sleeve. It's all rock. You have Stones. You have Caravan, 10 Years After, Savoy Brown on here. And here's the record itself. Now, what's funny about this record is the band is just fantastic. And I'm not going to say the band is fantastic. That is really what I think. Oh, by the way, which one's Pink, right? It always comes to my brain. But this record is just a rockin' record. The band follows him, and the drummer and the guitar player. And I'm going, this drummer is amazing. And I go, who is this guy, right? So one time after this record came out, and this is Buddy Rich, the great Buddy Rich, who's usually very hard to please. Buddy Rich, typically a harsh critic of inferior music, said on the Mike Douglas show in '71, the band that plays behind Tom Jones on this record is one of the greatest bands of all time. Now, what do you hear who's in the band? This record it clocks out at about 44 minutes, so you really get a good sense of what that. And he talks to the audience. It's almost, and the way it's produced, I'm sure these tracks were cut up from different nights, but the way it's edited and engineered, it's just seamless. You would think he talks to the audience. He does this. The band follows him as if, just like the band followed Elvis Presley with the rolls and the guitars and the motion, the emotion. Now, personnel: Tom Jones, lead vocal; Johnny Spence, because Tom Jones introduces the band. Conductor, arranger, the great Johnny Spence. Now, he says, I brought over 3 of the finest musicians we have in England. Now, one is Jimmy Rossell, who's a great bass player, but the other one is Big Jim Sullivan. Big Jim Sullivan was a session guitar player that was on par and a peer of Jimmy Page. I think they called him Big Jim, and Little Jim was Jimmy Page, but Big Jim Sullivan has #1 records on his own. He's also played lead guitar or one of the guitars on A World Without Love, Peter and Gordon. So he's been all over the place. Then you have, which is a real mind boggler, Chris Slade. Now, if you know Chris Slade played Chris Slade played for AC/DC, right? Played for AC/DC, Uriah Heep, David Gilmour, The Firm, in Asia. So Paul Rogers with the Firm, with Paul Rogers. So just an amazing lineup, an amazing band. Read about it, dig deep, because these are just great records. And I can't overemphasize that these are essential records. They should be in everyone's collection. I don't care if you love country, if you love rap, these records probably have been sampled by rap people. If you love jazz, they actually are jazz records in a sense. The Dean Martin has that element to jazz. The Johnny Mathis has that element to jazz. Here you have Tom Jones, which is a rockin' record. And I say it again. Let me know what you think. Does Tom Jones belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Come on. Of course he does. The guy's been doing it for 60, 70 years. Or 70, 60 years at least. I think he's in his 80s now. So, and Johnny Mathis doesn't belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but he just retired, and just God bless Johnny Mathis. I know my friend Tony, every time he's around, goes to see Johnny Mathis. I've never seen Johnny Mathis. Didn't see Cole. Didn't see Dean. Saw Frank. But I did see Tom Jones a number of times. Took his picture, met him, have stuff signed by him. Just amazing. So keep on rocking. Really appreciate you stopping in. Hope you enjoyed the segment. But listen to these records on YouTube and you decide. But if you don't have any of these guys in your collection, you may not have a Johnny Mathis. You may see him at thrift shops and you pass by. Pick up his Christmas albums. Pick up Nat Cole's Christmas albums, of course. That's one of the biggest selling albums of all time. I have multiple copies of that. It's up there with White Christmas, the Christmas album by Bing Crosby. But this Tom Jones record with this cover, you'll see it all the time. You'll probably see it for $1, $4. Pick it up. You may not see the Dean Martin anymore. You may not see the Nat Cole's a lot of, but you'll probably, if you dig, you'll see them. Or just go to a record shop and see what they have in stock, because I'm sure there's millions sold and they're out there. So keep rocking. Really appreciate it. Stay safe and talk to you soon. Cheers.